I want to begin this morning with a quote. Someone's lent me a book. So when you teach people how to read, it's like they read all kinds of things. Someone's lent me a book, and I want to read a quote from it. For any good scientist, I think we have a few scientists in here. For any good scientist, data is the ultimate decider of hypotheses. For any good scientist, data is the ultimate decider of hypotheses. So I like this because a lot of these words, this vocabulary comes from the ancient languages. Scientists, scientia, it's going to be Latin. Decider, decidere, it's going to be Latin. Decidere, to cleave, to pull apart. Hypotheses is Greek. Hypo, below, the thesis, below what we see and know. The hypothesis, it's going to be the grounding. This is by a couple of guys from MIT. Eric Bird, I'm going to mess this up, Bernd Jolson and Andrew McElwaine. For any good scientist, data is the ultimate decider of hypotheses. So, where am I going? Last Sunday, Palm Sunday, what did everybody do? It was Palm Sunday afternoon. I'm not going to press that because I know it's hard to go, wait a minute, what was I doing? Well, Kathleen and I, we were invited over to some people's house for lunch. People not knowing here, Lampasas. People in Lampasas. Kathleen knows the woman professionally in the Austin metro area. She's a scientist. She's PhD in pharmacology. She's a scientist. And he is, she likes to call him my MacGyver. He's somebody who's just really handy at thinking through and working outside the box, solving all kinds of things. And so we had a pizza party because he once owned a pizza place in Minnesota, and he makes pizzas like nobody makes pizzas around here. And so this has been like 2 or 3 years. When are you going to invite us over? So it happened. And so as the first batch of pizza are in the oven, he comes up to me and he says, how's the universe treating you? Or something like that. And I kind of looked at him questioningly, and then he said something else. And then he says, well, that's a line from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. From the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So I said, somebody's lent me, I think, some of that programming, and I'm not all that familiar with it. He said, oh, well, it has kind of a cult following. There's a lot of things that are going on with that. I said, well, okay, how's the universe treating me? Well, today's Palm Sunday, and we're headed towards Passover. So I knew I breached the line there because I knew that he has a background. Judaism is his background. He has a couple of famous names. If you think about Judaism, he's got his first and middle name are two of the most prominent names in Judaism. But I won't divulge that because then we'll really be able to zero in on him. Father's Judaism, mother's Lutheran. So he grew up here in the United States. Wherever in the United States you grow up with this Judaism, German, Lutheran background. With her, there's kind of been a line always that, okay, so she professionally is acquainted with my wife, and your husband can come in the shop, I guess, if he never talks about religion. So that's kind of like these. So these were the red lines, and so I didn't open it up. So somebody asked me, how's the universe treating you? And I mentioned Passover, and so I said, okay, where's this going to go? And then he says, well, that's all interesting to me about Egypt and the Romans and killing babies. And that's all. And I said, yeah, there's a lot going on there. And then she began to object, well, we don't need to get into all that. And he said, no, I'm interested. I'm interested. And so he began to chatter. And I use the word chatter because because it was a mix of all kinds of things that was coming forth from his background, and then she began to come in. And when she began to come in, she kept pulling up, as a scientist, she kept pulling up hypotheses that what if, and so she kept coming up with all the what ifs and all the hypotheses, and so I knew that, gee, this is not going to go anywhere. So we had a good afternoon of chatting, but it didn't go anywhere. Jesus Christ, I want to talk about Jesus Christ, and I want to talk about where's that bulletin about the cornerstone? How's that? Thus, the Lord RMcElwaine is Zion, a foundation stone, a tested stone, a precious cornerstone, a sure foundation. That is the way it's translated. So, this is Isaiah, and one who trusts will not panic. This is Isaiah, and you look at Isaiah 28, what's called First Isaiah. You've got plenty of reason to panic, because what's getting ready to happen in Israel, what's getting ready to happen in what's called the northern kingdom first. The Assyrians are going to come in and march. The Assyrians are going to take them out. The northern kingdom is going to be gone. They won't exist as a kingdom. They never will again. However, when Jesus Christ comes, his work is in that northern kingdom. It's in the Galilee. So that's just gone until the ministry of Jesus Christ. The southern kingdom, they'll be taken off. The Babylonians will come in, and the Babylonians will conquer them and take them off. Isaiah has to say, there is plenty of reason to panic. If you're alive then, there's plenty of reason to panic. And so Isaiah is letting people know that the Lord's doing a mighty work and a powerful work, and this is going to happen. But that's always been a question for people, because when is this going to happen? Because now we're going to anticipate it, and we're going to wait for it, and we're going to look for it, and we're going to have all this powerful vocabulary that really does tie up our lives in a good way, or tie them up in a not so good way. And so how is this going to be filled full? And that's why so many people have so many opinions about the universe, and so many opinions about what's called religion. And I let them know, well, I really don't deal that much with religion. I probably can't use the term, but I'm more of a rationalist. I'm probably part of what's called rationalism, except I think rationalism really boots me out, because I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. And the followers of Jesus Christ, the way it's really packed in there is that he's the Logos. And the Logos is how everything works. And the Logos is even from before the beginning. So even from before the elemental forces of the universe, the Logos is there. And the Logos is going to become the pattern of how things begin to take shape and the form. And so really I'm a rationalist, because actually this Logos is in Euclid's elements. And it's a magnitude of a magnitude. And this is how things work, but we really don't know it until actually we see it. We see it begin to take shape, and we see it begin to form. And then we go back and we say, is that what was happening? Is that what this is all about? And so it's really a rationalist that I am a lot more than a religious type, because a religious type are more Rome. The Romans were very religious. It's a Latin term, and they really wanted to connect with the universe. They wanted to connect with all the gods, and they were, let's make a deal. And if this God won't cut a good, favorable deal with me, I'm going to go to this God. And if this God won't cut a favorable deal with me, I'm going to go to all the gods until we can make happen what we want to make happen. And finally, the Roman says, I'm done with the gods. Caesars are going to be gods. The Caesars are just as good and even better than a lot of the gods. And so Rome just went ahead and said, we will establish our own gods. And that's religion. In a way, Roman religion. very pious in a lot of ways in how they do that. And ancient Greek was very religious. The Greeks had all kinds of things going on that they wanted to connect with. And this Palm Sunday conversation that I had with these two people that invited us over could have been a Palm Sunday lunch in Jerusalem on Palm Sunday because it's a very sophisticated place. On Passover weekend, you have people coming from all over. You have people coming from the Roman Empire from all over. You're also having people coming from the east, from the north and the south. All this part of what's called the diaspora. They're coming in. You have a lot of Greeks there. It's already very much influenced in Greek influence. They've had what's called the Septuagint, which is a Greek translation of the Hebrew for over 200 years. Greek thought, Greek vocabulary, Greek understanding is very much infused. This conversation that I had a week ago, which really was kind of a non-conversation because it was circular and there was never ever any getting out of it, could have been a conversation that happened Palm Sunday, Jesus Christ time. But I was able to move this friend of mine, I was able to move him towards the Seder. And the Seder, I said, were you familiar with the Seder, the Passover meal, the Seder? He said, yes. My father used to do the Seder. He used to set it up every Passover and all the different foods. And I knew this guy knew a lot about cooking and a lot about foods. And so he was able to connect with the Seder a little bit. And I said, did you know, you probably don't know, that Seder, the only time it appears in our scriptures, is in Job. Familiar with the book of Job? Yeah, a little bit. It's the only time Seder appears in our scriptures, and it's Job 10. It's Job 10:22. I'll start with Job 10:18. If anybody hasn't read Job, you've probably experienced some of what Job has experienced. Life is dangerous. Life is difficult, troublesome, to the extreme with Job. Why did you bring me? He's talking to the Lord. Why did you bring me forth from the womb? Would that I had died before any eye had seen me, and were as though I had not been carried from the womb to the grave. Are not the days of my life few? Let me alone, that I may find a little comfort before I go, never to return to the land of gloom and deep darkness, to the land of gloom and chaos, where light is like darkness. So, and chaos is Seder. So in chaos is low Seder. Low, whenever you hear that word low, a lot of prophets begin with that word low, and then something comes forth that's really often not a good word, but this is low Seder, without order. And that land of deep darkness is going to be a term that's also used in Psalm 23. Even though I go through the valley of death and the land of shadows of death, I think it's shadows of death. That's that deep darkness. That's that without Seder. That's that without order, without arrangements. Jesus Christ, between Palm Sunday and what we call Easter morning, there's going to be order placed. There's going to be arrangements made. These are going to be arrangements made forevermore. This is going to be an order placed forevermore. Anyone who wants to ignore it, that's what we can do. Anybody who wants to hypothesize all kinds of things, that's what people do. However, there's enormous documentation, what we call the scriptures, Old Testament, New Testament, that says arrangements have been made. That there is order now placed. And that's called the diatheke. That's called